Welcome to 20 Minutes Self-Development with me, your host, Tam Dillon. 20 Minutes Self-Development, the podcast that's all about focused, effective self-development, one tool at a time. In each episode, I'll be introducing you to a specific practice or technique, and I'll be diving into why it matters, how it works, and how you can integrate it seamlessly into your daily life. In just 20 minutes, we'll get to the heart of personal growth and insights that make meaningful change feel both accessible and achievable. Let's get into today's episode. Well, hello and welcome back to 20 Minutes Self-Development. In today's episode, we're talking about change, but not the dramatic kind of change that flips your entire life upside down. So often we're sold this idea that real growth requires a total overhaul. Quit your job, end the relationship, move across the world. But what if real change doesn't always look like a revolution? What if transformation can happen within the life you're already living? That's what we're diving into today. So let's talk about the trend. There's this trend, especially in the personal development and wellness spaces, and it says you need to burn it all down to become your true self. The proverbial phoenix rising from the ashes, the tower card moment where it's chaos and destruction and you're just in the throes of everything being obliterated and you're like, this is going to be amazing when I come out on the other side of this, and it's awful right now, but it's awful because it has to be. A transformation doesn't have to be that wild, man. Like, yeah, it is. It has its moments. It has its moments of, when you do need to do the whole big overhaul and move across the world and, get a little bit dramatic. But in a lot of instances, we don't need to be so drama-based. Like, we really can reel it back in. So before you go and burn this bitch to the ground, let's stop and pause and first assess if you need to be burning it to the ground in the first place. So while this message, can be very empowering in certain seasons, it can also be very dangerous. It can be disorienting, and honestly, it is not sustainable if you're process of growth and self-development is just a consistent burning this bitch to the ground and tower movements and phoenix rising from the ashes. Maybe you need to, I don't know, stop doing personal development for a little bit because that just sounds like an exhausting process. Reasons and seasons, people. Please be kind to yourselves. You don't need to be burning it to the ground every time you transform or every time you grow or expand. So it's a very unsustainable way of doing any kind of self-development. Farmers only burn their fields every couple of years. They don't burn it every 6 months. Every couple of years you need to burn the field and have all this new, fresh green growth springing up, but not, once a week. So please rein that back in. Not everyone needs to start from scratch. Not every discomfort is a sign that you're in the wrong life. Sometimes it's just a sign that something within your existing life needs to be nurtured or expressed or shifted. Think about an area of your life where you feel stuck. Pause, stop what you're doing unless you're driving. Please don't just pull over and stop driving. But take a moment and really think about this. Think about that area in life where you feel stuck and ask the question, is all of it wrong? And I mean, all of it. Is all of it wrong? Or is there something small that needs to move or shift? Sit with that question. Just how big is the shift that you really need right now? You need to be burning like the crop fields, like level of shifting, or is it just like maybe we need to just harvest those couple of things of corn right there and we'll be okay. What do you need right now? What level do you need? Let's talk about the difference between reaction and response, because I believe this is going to be really helpful. One reason people jump into full-blown overhauls is because they're reacting instead of responding. They're just like, everything about my world is awful and everything about my world needs to change because it just is, and I don't know why, and I'm gonna do it. And so they're just launching into their self-development journey, being like, I'm just gonna overhaul all of it. We're just gonna rip it all up. We're gonna burn the foundation, even though it's made out of concrete. We're gonna burn that down. We'll find a way, and we're just gonna strip it to the bare bones and rebuild it. No, stop. Stop reacting to your personal development journey. Don't do that. Respond to your journey. Reactions are often emotional, they're immediate, and they're driven by discomfort. So responses take space. They come with insight, reflection, and often a much smaller pivot than we first imagined. So before we're trying to set the concrete foundation alight, let's ask the question, like, do we need to even take the whole house down? Maybe we just need to repair the roof. Sometimes the most powerful change you can make is internal. Super simple. Mind shift. A new boundary. A deepened awareness. A different level of understanding. Rather than trying to externalize and be like, oh, I'm going to be better, so I'm going to go do gym 4 hours in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, or I'm going to study 20 hours a day and get that PhD. Instead of constantly overexerting yourself, and even on the internal stuff, external, internal, don't overexert. Like, you don't have to cast your line on the other side of the planet and be like, let me hook myself over there. Like, you really can, like, look here. So, super simple tip. And my goodness, have I shared this tip with you multiple times, and that because it's a tip that really works. It truly does. Pause. Practice the pause. Practice pausing. If you want to practice anything, forget your stretching, forget your meditation, like forget the mindfulness. Well, no, keep the mindfulness because that's helpful. Now, if you're going to practice anything, practice pausing. Like there is 24 hours in a day. It's okay if you take 5 seconds of those 24 hours to just pause. When something feels off, give yourself some time. Give yourself 24 hours. Heck, give yourself 72 hours if you need. Journal, breathe, sit with it. Don't make major life decisions in the middle of a trigger either. So if you're in hyperdrive mode, you're hyper stressed, you're hyper depressed, you're hyper angry, you're hyper frustrated, you're in hyperdrive mode, don't be burning down anything, please. Especially the concrete foundation and the cornfields. Like, don't do that. So really sit with these things. So when you're thinking like, oh, I think I need to change some things, and you start rattling off like all the things that you think you might need changing, write those things down and sit with them. I'm very sure none of those things on those lists need to be changed right here in the second. So I think it's okay to stop and write the list and sit with the list. And you might find you might reduce the list because you're like, okay, well, maybe I don't need to change that. Maybe I don't need new windows or doors, or I definitely don't need to burn down the foundation. That's for sure. So, how do we create movement without collapsing? Growth really doesn't require collapse. We don't have to do whole big tower card moments every day of our lives. Here are 3 super helpful ways to bring about some meaningful change without scrapping your entire life and starting over. Reframe your story. How are you narrating your life to yourself? Is it rigid? This is how my life is. My life is this and this and this and this and this. How structured are you in that? How much rigidity do you have in that? And do you have any space for movement? Do you have anything that's a little bit more open-ended? So reframe your stories. Small scale experiments. You know me, I'm always like, change happens one small step at a time. So I'm all about small changes, small steps, baby steps. Try a new behavior, try a new routine, or a boundary in just one area. You don't need to go and build a whole fence around yourself and be like, oh, my boundaries suck. I need to put down some boundaries. And you go out and you're like, okay, cool, here's 20 new boundaries, everyone. Like, you're going to forget half the boundaries you're putting down. So start with one. Please just start with one. You don't have to put a whole fence up right now. Anchoring practices. Implement consistent daily or weekly practices that keep you aligned and anchored when things feel wobbly. So simple grounding techniques, taking 2 minutes if you need to, preferably 5 if you can. If you need 5 and you can only do 2, you should probably be doing 10. Okay, but nevertheless, take time to stop and give yourself some space to just kind of step outside of everything and go into observer mindset. Have a really great episode on that. Go check it out. Observer mindset can come in really helpful when trying to find space to anchor back. So these practices are going to really help you build some resilience, some clarity, and give you some more space. The very things you need to respond to life instead of reacting to life. So what do we do when a big shift is needed? Okay, because every couple of years the farmers do need to burn their fields, and there's a reason for that. Like, there's a good reason for that. Sometimes you do need to scrap everything and start afresh. So, sometimes that full transformation is necessary. The word sometimes being, the important word here, not all the time. And you'll know 100% certainty, a question of a doubt, that is what is needed. But you also know that you're not making that decision or having that awareness from a place of, oh my God, everything sucks. My life is falling apart. I need to burn this concrete foundation to the ground, because making especially big life decisions like that in triggered moments, in heightened states, is never a good idea, because your ability to just reason and be logical is greatly impaired, because you're looking for quick way out, because everything in your body and your mind is aligned to, oh, there is an immediate threat here in this moment right now. I must get away from it. The threat is not immediate. You don't need to get away from it right now. You need to sit with it and see, how big is this? How much is actually needed? And how much of this is really just not needed and just me just reacting? Okay. Honesty with the self is always the best policy. You know this. So when this groundwork is laid in small moments of self-awareness, that clarity, that commitment, your ability to deal with something, that if you are needing to make a massive shift, and like I've done it, I've left a long-term relationship, packed my suitcases down to like 1.5 suitcases. I really reduced my life and left my home country for the first time. I had no idea about the country I was going to, had a rough idea what I was doing when I was going to get there. But I knew without question, because I'd sat with it for months. Actually, with regards to the relationship, I'd sat with that for a couple of years. So yeah, I'd really sat with that. So there's also the line of sitting with things for a little bit too long, because we're scared. And oh yeah, man, I was scared. Fear is what kept me sitting at that cliff edge. Oh, I don't want to jump. It's scary. I don't know what's out there. But man, when I left, the huge overhaul that I needed for my life, I was so spot on with that. And man, oh man, did it serve me so well. So well. But I sat with it long enough to know that I wasn't walking out the relationship from a emotional standpoint. It was from okay, this is actually a healthy decision for myself. I wasn't reducing my life because, I'm like, oh, I need to burn this foundation to the ground. I need to get rid of all my things. I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to another country. And like taking all my things will be expensive. So let's be practical. And also it was a shedding, in a sense, like shedding the old, because I knew that I was stepping into something new. So sometimes, yes, we need to do the big overhaul. We need to set fire to the concrete foundation if you can get that right. Sometimes the concrete foundation just needs to stay because it's, I don't know that's very easy to burn those to the ground. But most of the time, it isn't a complete overhaul. It really is something as simple as new boundary in one little place. And you're like, oh, look at that. Yeah, life's a whole lot better right now. Didn't need to burn those fields after all. So sit with it, simplify it, pause, take a moment before you grab your pack of matches, please. So with sitting with it, you're going to find that clarity. Okay. And when you've got that clarity, ensure that the decisions you're making aren't based in emotions. They're not like, oh, I'm frustrated with this, so let's get rid of that. No, I'm frustrated with it. Why? What do I need to do to change that frustration? And also making the mountains out of molehills as well. Yes. So in doing this specific type of work, you really do need to be honest with yourself. You really do need to stop and pause and come from those places of response, and don't come from those spaces of just reacting. Thanks for spending these 20 minutes with me. If you found this episode helpful, please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. And if you're looking for more personalized support to navigate change with the clarity and not the chaos, check out my self-development coaching. As always, you know I'm available to hold your hand on your self-development journey. But I'm not going to do the work for you. You don't need to overhaul your whole life to make it your own. Sometimes real transformation, and I genuinely mean this, real transformation comes from choosing to show up differently in the life that you already have. No, most of the time, it really is just simple shifts and adjustments. It isn't packing your bags and grabbing your matches and burning it to the ground. Okay, those instances are very few and far between. So until next week, remember, change happens one small step at a time. And as always, stay present, kind to yourself, and I will see you next week. Thanks for joining me for this week's episode of 20-Minute Self-Development. If today's insights were helpful, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, where I'll share another practical tool or technique for your personal growth journey. If you're looking for more personalized support, my self-development coaching offers a space to explore these tools at a deeper level and tailors them to your unique needs. You can also visit the Tam Dillon Academy for all my courses and upcoming programs to also help you along your self-development journey. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, and remember, growth happens one small intentional step at a time.